My best friend stopped talking to me after I supported her through every crisis. I'm fine, I said, but I wasn't. Now I'm tired of watching her choose new friends over me. I'm ready to end this friendship, but am I just going to be another heartbreak? I need an outside perspective on this entire situation, and I am seeking advice from someone I do not know rather than from a friend's viewpoint. If you are someone who knows me, please take everything you read here to your grave. To provide some background information, I relocated to the country I now live in approximately 3 years ago and had to leave behind nearly everything in order to come to this Muslim country. I am originally from a Latino country, so the cultural adjustment was quite overwhelming. Furthermore, the level of education in schools here is vastly more sophisticated than in my home country, making it feel akin to attending university back home. As I mentioned, moving to a new country meant I had no friends. The connection I had with my friends from my home country diminished and we barely communicate. It is a miracle if we talk occasionally. Additionally, I moved here during the peak of COVID-19 and at a time when I was grappling with significant depression. I had just ended a relationship right before moving to this country. At the school I enrolled in, I met my current best friend. When I refer to her as my best friend, I mean that she is the only person I consider as such. I have only one best friend. There are others I regard as friends or close friends, but only one person holds the title of my best friend. I have been best friends with her for the same duration I have been in this new country. We share a deep bond. She likewise considers me her best friend. We used to, and I emphasize used to, talk every day, whether in person or online, and most days we would be on call for hours. We would go out with friends, and I would sometimes surprise her by visiting late at night, like at 10 p.m., which is significant since her parents are very protective and have issues with letting her go out with boys unless at least one other girl is present. Therefore, my presence at her house is quite a leap, and amusingly, despite their protectiveness, they do not mind that I visit because they have met me several times. Even her siblings know me, and some of her sisters get excited when I come over. My family is also familiar with her, and she even met my grandparents when they came to visit me in this country. We are so similar that some people, including ourselves, have remarked that we are merely gender-bent versions of one another. To be candid about my feelings for her, which is pertinent to this entire situation, I genuinely love this girl, though not in the conventional sense. I love her as a friend, as my best friend, someone who has been there for her highs as well as her lows. I love her platonically, but I also have romantic feelings for her, albeit not in a solely physical manner. It is more pedestrian. Among all the best friends I have ever had, she is the first one for whom I care this deeply, which I believe contributes to my romantic affection for her. I have never encountered someone so amazing and such a perfect friend that I do not want to share her with anyone. Thus, securing that bond seems to necessitate being with her. I cannot quite articulate it, but yes, I like her immensely. While she had a boyfriend for a few months, I still loved her as a friend and felt joy for her happiness, at least while it lasted. Her boyfriend turned out to not be great in the end. She's the only friend to whom I have given multiple gifts. I love this girl so much that I would even marry her, but as we both have acknowledged, we prefer to maintain our best friend status. To be honest, I am okay with that. Would I like her to be my girlfriend? Yes, but I also highly value being her best friend. Simultaneously, it complicates matters that the qualities she seeks in a potential partner perfectly align with me on some level. A significant event occurred after I had to transfer schools. Everything remained consistent until she moved back to her home country halfway through my time in this new school. Despite that change, everything was fine. We communicated frequently and set up a schedule to talk, considering the time zone differences, and we maintained this until she stopped contacting me. I would text her, but she would not respond, and this continued for almost a full month until she returned. When she came back, she explained that she had not been feeling well and had essentially isolated herself. For context, this was not the first time she had done something like that. In the past, she would only withdraw for about a week or so when overwhelmed or stressed. However, the significant difference this time was that she would typically communicate with me a little. She had been feeling overwhelmed with starting university and struggling to make friends, so I understood her disappearance. After a few months, she returned to the country and we met up again. I surprised her once more with a late-night visit where we shared some McDonald's outside her house. Those small hangouts with just the two of us will always remain among my favorite memories. Eventually, she returned to her home country to continue university and managed to make new friends, but that is when things began to decline. After she established new friendships and rekindled a connection with an old friend, she began to communicate with me less. We had fewer calls together and we played fewer games because she was busy with her new friends and that old acquaintance. To be honest, while I was happy for her, it was unfortunate that we spent less and less time together, eventually leading to minimal communication. Then came a time when I really needed her. I was extremely stressed and facing other problems. It reached a point where I had a complete breakdown and suffered an anxiety attack, and during that time she was not there for me as she had been on previous occasions. She was not present during the times I had supported her, and when she returned the situation had already passed. Eventually my depression worsened and I began engaging in reckless behavior, but again she was mostly absent. However, this time she came back shortly after that incident, asking if I was all right. My foolish personality prompted me to lie, insisting I was fine. I did not want to burden her. She pressed the issue one more time, but after I reiterated that I was fine, she seemed to believe me to some extent. Now, mind you, I usually leave subtle hints for my friends when something is off, and I have also informed her that if I am in a bad state, she should insistently ask me to share what is troubling me because I struggle to ask for help. Unfortunately, she did not push me hard enough, so time passed. She later apologized for her absence and for not being there, to which I responded that it was fine, acknowledging my own foolishness. When she returned to the country, I went all out for her goodbye gift, providing her with a handwritten letter decorated with drawings as we are both artists, and made her a flower out of plastic spoons with a green-dyed base so that when light is placed underneath, it appears green with white accents and black. Suffice it to say, she appreciated it. I also gave her a ring during another hangout. She wears many rings, but I cannot deny that I had romantic intentions when I presented her with that ring. After she departed for her country, we entered another cycle of her disappearing, this time due to the old friend I mentioned, who was essentially utilizing her as his therapist and had feelings for her. She claimed to have absolutely no feelings for him, yet because she is a people pleaser, she spent all her time with him knowing their friendship was toxic. During that period, she resumed talking and venting to me, but it was short-lived. After she finally severed ties with him, she found a new friend group, further causing me to lose her, and from then on, I completely lost touch with her. We rarely spoke, and when we did, it was only briefly. However, just a few weeks ago, we started talking more again, but that is where the reason for this post arises. A few weeks ago, I received the devastating news that my grandmother has cancer again, but this time it is terminal and her time is limited. At minimum, she may have about 4 years left, but considering the type of cancer she has, it could be less, and it is a type that causes significant pain. Suffice it to say, I broke down and I needed my best friend for emotional support. Given that we had been talking again, I expected her to be there for me, but she was not. However, she returned just 2 days after I received the news, but that was when I realized she was at her grandmother's house, where she had lost her only a year ago. The stories she shared indicated that she was not having an easy time, so I concealed my own struggles from her. I did not reveal anything about my situation after receiving the news, even though she had pushed me to talk. After about a week, I still did not want to divulge my feelings, despite it being her nature to ask if I was okay, which she did, but ultimately she disappeared again. Upon managing to work through my issues, I noticed her disappearance was due to her spending time with her friends from over there. While I am genuinely happy that she has friends, it has been nearly a year during which 90% of the time I have been watching my best friend post almost daily about her hangouts with them, while I, her so-called best friend, have been relegated to the sidelines. To put it clearly, I am exhausted and in need of a stable friendship, or at the very least, someone who will be there when it truly matters and who I can talk to frequently, not every day but at least often. I am unsure what to do. I do not want to keep experiencing hurt and disappointment from my best friend whom I love dearly. I know she does not intend to cause me pain, it is simply her nature. However, even when she acknowledges her behavior, she becomes anxious and struggles to initiate a conversation with me again, even though I have done my best to reassure her that she does not need to worry about that with me. Yet, that reassurance does not seem to suffice. I am just feeling overwhelmed. I love her, I love being her best friend, and I cherish that wonderful smile of hers that makes my heart flutter, but I cannot continue if I am only going to get hurt and let down repeatedly. I do not want this to end, but I am uncertain of my next steps. I am aware that if I engage in another lengthy conversation with her, as I have done in the past, things might smooth over for a while, but eventually she will likely revert to her old habits. From what I know, she has not truly experienced losing a really good friend due to mistakes on her part, and that experience often teaches the importance of maintaining communication and looking after friends. I worry that I may end up being that experience for her, but I do not want to be. The worst part is, not long ago, she expressed her feelings in her social media story instead of confiding in someone directly, and I genuinely want to help her. I know there are things I can assist her with, but given how I am feeling right now, I am uncertain whether I should do that, which is incredibly frustrating. It is as if I am contemplating ending our friendship precisely when she needs someone, but I am just exhausted from being hurt repeatedly. If you managed to read this entire post, I truly appreciate it. I apologize for my rambling, I simply do not know how to articulate everything clearly. I have cried, been angry, and felt a myriad of emotions for her, but I still find myself at a loss regarding what to do. Thank you for taking the time to read this. I am sorry for the lengthy narrative. Goodbye. Story 2. Stuck in a toxic marriage, I conformed to my wife's demands until I met her new hire. You clearly don't love me, she'd yell. Now I feel alive with someone new and question it all. Can I leave the love that suffocates me? The title is a bit misleading, so let me start from the beginning. My wife and I have been together for nearly 8 years and married for nearly 4 years. We met just before the lockdown due to COVID and started dating shortly thereafter. We moved quickly, and I did not think much of it as this was my first serious relationship. When the lockdown began, she essentially moved in with my family due to some family issues and everything seemed perfect. However, a few months into our relationship, I began to notice that she had a very aggressive side. She would become extremely angry over anything we disagreed on, such as when she wanted to get a dog, despite us living with my parents who already had 3 dogs. She would become incredibly rude and mean, saying things like, "You clearly do not love me," and would lash out regardless of my apologies. I would end up apologizing for hours, belittling myself and claiming I was foolish or not thinking clearly. Eventually, she would return to her usual demeanor, apologize, and say she was sorry for how she acted. Fast forward a few years and we purchased our first home together, with her as the owner since I had no credit at the time and was still attending college while working part-time. I started to notice that she never seemed to want to spend time with my family. She would become angry and withdrawn, only replying with sarcastic remarks until I either attempted to reschedule with my family or canceled plans altogether. This behavior became a pattern. She would react angrily anytime I tried to hang out with my close friends. She expected me to adhere to her schedule, wanting me home well before she finished work. She would become irate if I attempted to leave before she did and would grow angry if I did not respond within 15 to 30 minutes of her texting me while I was with my friends. Despite my parents consistently advising me to address these issues and emphasizing that it was unacceptable, I never did, and the problem remains unresolved to this day. One day she became upset with me for following other women on Instagram. I explained that these were people I had worked with and classmates, normal individuals, not accounts posting inappropriate pictures. She expressed confusion over why I felt the need to follow them since I hadn't communicated with any of them. Following my usual pattern, I apologized, handed over my phone, and unfollowed every woman on my account. However, this did not resolve her concerns, so she wanted to inspect my Snapchat and Twitter accounts. Once again, I acquiesced and allowed her to do so, giving her permission to unfollow anyone she wished. After this ordeal, she apologized and said she was sorry, but still exhibited an unpleasant attitude toward me for the rest of the day. Now would be a good time to inform you about my Twitter account, which I had before we met. I used to like adult content, but I ceased engaging with that type of material once we became a couple. However, I did not go back to unlike anything or remove previous retweets. She discovered the account after I revealed the name I often used online and confronted me, expressing her disapproval. I apologized and promptly deleted all content related to adult material and unfollowed any associated profiles. I fully acknowledge that I was entirely in the wrong and wish I had addressed this before we got together, but unfortunately, I did not. After a few years of living together in our home, we planned a vacation that we were both very excited about, which was approximately 3 months away. One day, her father texted me, asking if he could come over while my wife was at work and requested that I not inform her. I agreed, and when he arrived, he expressed his love for his daughter and that he would never do anything to jeopardize their relationship. He mentioned that his daughter expected me to propose during this trip. He left, leaving me in shock. I was still in my 20s and loved my partner very much, so I assumed this was the right course of action. I mentioned it to my parents, who were immediately opposed to the idea, knowing the unresolved issues in our relationship. Nevertheless, I decided to go ahead with the proposal, and on our vacation, she of course said yes. Fast forward to a few months before the wedding, and my wife and I had a significant argument, the first time I actually stood up to her regarding her desire to move in the future. I stated that I could not leave my family, friends, and everything I knew. She declared that this was absurd and insisted we cancel all wedding plans, threatening she would not be with me if we did not move. All of this unfolded while I was at work. I called my mother, explained the situation, and expressed my distress at the possibility of not being with her and losing the dogs we had. My mom helped me through it, advising me not to respond until I was home and that such discussions should not occur over text. When I eventually returned home, still in tears, I again expressed that perhaps I might one day be open to the idea of moving, despite knowing I would never be able to do so. This miraculously resolved everything, and she reverted to her usual behavior for the remainder of the night, and I went along with it. Now in the present day, I still love my wife deeply, but I have started to feel the urge to leave as I feel controlled and manipulated. However, I have never expressed these feelings or acted on them. One day at work, I met a new female hire, a woman my age who is completely the opposite of my wife: cheerful, friendly, sweet, and compassionate. I have always claimed that I would never cheat on my wife because I believe cheaters are terrible. Nevertheless, I feel genuinely happy when I am around this new employee. We share the same interests, she listens to my complaints, and she is consistently supportive when I face work-related problems. I suspect that I am starting to develop romantic feelings for her. However, I have not acted on these feelings, nor have I overstepped any boundaries. After being in this marriage and relationship for such a long time, I realize that I no longer receive similar emotional warmth from my wife. Although I still love her, I do not want to hurt her despite how she has treated me throughout our relationship. I am uncertain if I can continue as things are. I have been diagnosed with major depression, and my thoughts have turned darker. The only time I feel free from those thoughts is when I interact with the new hire. I feel lost and would appreciate hearing anyone's perspective on this situation. I apologize if I come across as selfish or like a terrible person. I am just scared and worried. Summary. I feel as though I have begun to fall in love with another woman while falling out of love with my wife. I do not want to hurt her and would appreciate any advice on how to approach the situation.